If you want to make the big bucks in the AI industry, I'm talking the 10,000, 20,000, even 30,000 income months, then you frankly have to know how to pitch high-ticket AI services, and that's exactly what this video is for. I'm going to first off run you through the exact pitch framework I've used to close millions of dollars in high-ticket deals, and then we're going to come back and really break down and diagnose everything that I did so that you can copy it, use it to make life-changing money in the AI industry. Now, lastly, before we dive in, if you really are serious about this, if you really do want to make your dreams a reality in this exciting industry, then I really want you to pay attention throughout the pitch to not just the words that I'm saying, but how I'm saying the words. Really listen intently. Think about the structure. Think about why I might be saying certain words in a certain way at a certain time. And then after you're done watching, we'll come back and break down everything that I did so that you can understand it, copy it, and use it to close big deals in the AI industry and achieve your life goals. I'm insanely excited. Let's go. Okay, for yourself specifically, Mr. Prospect, here's the game plan of action. You know how you mentioned earlier on that you're not making the money you want to make, that you feel you're not living up to your potential, like you're missing out on so much freedom and flexibility in your life? Well, what we're going to do is walk you through a simple two-step process that's going to allow you to break into the AI industry, to land a remote sales role with a top-tier AI business, to close deals and get to 10, 20, even up to 30,000 a month and beyond while being remote, while having the freedom, flexibility, and lifestyle that you want. Now, in terms of how we get you there, it's a two-sided approach. You've got the training and then you've got the recruitment. I'll dive into the training side of things first. Now, in terms of the training, there's 3 pillars, and all of these pillars are a vehicle to get you into this industry and confidently closing deals straight out the gate in your very first week. Now, the first pillar is the self-paced study. So what this is quite literally A to Z, everything that you would ever possibly need to come into this industry to know exactly what you're doing in order to close deals and reach your financial goals. Now, everything in the self-paced study has been designed in a very specific way, in a very specific order that allows you to maximize your success. So we start off with more of the foundations. This is more of the why and not the how. You have to bear in mind that in this industry, we are selling very high-ticket AI solutions, typically priced between $20,000 and $40,000, although I've absolutely had students close deals in the 6-figure range. But we're selling very premium high-ticket AI solutions, often to very cash-rich business owners. And with this, there is a level of psychology that goes into this. And this is exactly what we'll teach you in this initial foundational stage. Exactly the deep psychology behind why would somebody buy from you? Why would somebody trust you? Why would somebody spend tens of thousands of dollars with you? That is what you will know by the end of this foundations module. But like I said, that's a little bit more of the why and not the how. And then after that, we'll dive into the specific process itself. So exactly what to do and exactly what to say when you're on your calls in the AI industry so that you can confidently close deals, which by the way, are typically worth on average 2,000 to 6,000 in commissions per sale. We're going to get you closing these deals weekly. Now, every sales call in the AI industry follows the same macro framework, and in that framework, there are 5 stages. We will teach you exactly what to do and what to say at each stage so that, again, you can close deals straight out the gate and know exactly what you're doing and where you're going on your calls. We'll also give you scripts as well, exact scripts to follow that are proven. Now, don't get me wrong, I don't particularly like scripts. I much prefer natural human conversations. But in your first few weeks, as you're getting warmed up in this industry, it's so valuable to have something proven that you can just read off and know exactly where you're going. Again, it frankly just makes getting up to 10, 20, 30,000 a month so much easier and frankly a lot quicker as well. Now, the self-paced study, that's just really one pillar and one aspect of what we do and how we get you ready for these calls. The second pillar, and where we really stand out, is that working with us, we actually do one-to-one calls with you as well. So imagine, not only have you got, full A to Z, everything that you would need to come into the AI industry and close deals, you're also going to have a one-to-one mentor alongside you, guiding you, and ultimately just being with you on the journey up to 20, 30,000 a month and beyond. Now, working with us, guys, it's worth noting that in terms specifically of sales recruitment, we are the largest sales recruitment business in the AI industry. Our goal with any AI businesses that we take on board to hire through us is to have long-term relationships. So don't get me wrong, I want everybody who signs up with me to do well from a human standpoint, but also our reputation is on the line. So there's an element of, we don't just want you to do well, we need you to do well, which is why we'll jump on one-to-one calls with you, really give you that level of personalization, and ultimately just make it so much easier to get up to your financial goals. Now, the third and final pillar to working with us on the training side and getting you ready for these calls is that we also do calls in a group environment as well. They run on a Tuesday and Thursday at 8 p.m. UK, which is 3 p.m. Eastern. And what this does is allow you to network with other like-minded people, people that are in the AI industry, people that are going through the same process as yourself. We'll do a lot of training, a lot of mock calls, really put into practice everything that you're learning in the training. And ultimately, it just makes your journey in the AI industry so much more fun, being around other like-minded, ambitious, positive people. So to very quickly recap, the training has 3 pillars, and this is all a vehicle to get you ready to come into the AI industry, to close deals worth 2,000 to 6,000 in commissions weekly, maybe even multiple per week. The pillars are, first pillar, the self-paced study, quite literal A to Z, everything you need to come into the AI industry and confidently close deals. The second pillar is that we also do one-to-one calls and one-to-one mentorship with you. And then the third pillar is that we'll also be training you in a group environment as well, putting everything that you've learned into practice alongside other positive, like-minded, ambitious people. Any questions in terms of the training at all? Okay, most importantly, do you feel like that would help? Okay, now let's dive into the recruitment. Now, in terms of the recruitment, there's 3 pillars, and all 3 pillars serve as a vehicle to get you fast-tracked into the AI industry, to land a remote sales role with a top-tier AI business, to get you closing deals, get you up to 10 to 30,000 a month, and have the freedom, flexibility, and lifestyle that you want. Now, the very first pillar is that working with us, you are paired up with a one-to-one recruiter, somebody who's going to be in your corner day in, day out, helping you out with all of our recruitment processes. So one of the very first action steps that any new client takes is fill out what's called our recruitment questionnaire. This is super important because what it does once you submit it, it gets sent to your recruiter and gives them a solid understanding about yourself and about what you specifically are looking for. To let you know, I get some people that come to me and they just want to, have a pretty chilled life, work part-time, make 5,000 to 6,000 a month, and that's totally fine. I get other people that come to me, they're very ambitious, they want to hit the big numbers, the 20,000, 30,000 a month plus, and again, that's totally fine. But as you can see, the way that we're going to help those 2 different types of individuals is different, and the types of companies that we're going to match them up with is obviously different. So when you submit this, it gives your recruiter a solid understanding about yourself and specifically what you're looking for so that we can tailor your recruitment process and get you matched up with a company that fits you perfectly. Now, the second pillar on the recruitment side, and this is really the main crux of what we do, is that working with us, you get to leverage our network, our connections, our systems in order to get fast-tracked into the AI industry and get fast-tracked into a remote sales role with a top-tier AI business. So while you're going through the training, our recruitment team on the back end are going to be handling all your recruitment processes, including creating what's called your candidate profile. Now, a candidate profile is basically a fancy word for a resume that's tailored to the AI industry. Now, once you've been through the first 4 modules and you've passed what's called a skills assessment, which, by the way, is where we jump onto a call with you, we would do a mock call, make sure that we're happy with your performance and your understanding of the process, and then once you've passed that, we would release you out to the market, as it were, and get you into a remote sales role with a top AI business. So your candidate profile will be sent out to our entire network. And what will happen is, let's say an AI business, they look at your candidate profile and they think, yeah, this person looks good, let's bring him in. You will get notified from us via email. That email will have a couple of really important attachments to it. It will have what's called a job spec, which will go into more detail about the specific company, about what they sell, price points, who they sell to, etc. It will also have a video from me on the email. It will also have links to their website, their LinkedIn, etc. And nice and simply, all you do is just review all of the information, get back to us with either a yes or a no. If it's a yes, you'll be sent back a calendar link to book an interview. And we would also jump on a call with you and make sure, we do a bit of interview prep so that we can maximize how many offers you're getting. If it's a no, that's also totally fine. We just ask that you let us know the reason why for feedback purposes. And then what happens is, once you are accepted into a role, every AI business will have an onboarding phase, which lasts typically on average 2 weeks, where in the first week, you wouldn't be taking any calls. You would just be learning about their solution, about their pricing, what pain points it solves, some of the more, more details about the product. And then in the second week, you would start on a part-time calendar of typically 1 to 3 booked calls per day. And then at the end of that onboarding phase, you will be offered more calls. And obviously you can make the decision at that time whether you want to take more calls or not. Which, by the way, 99% plus of my clients do. Once they see the kind of money they can make, once they see, frankly, how much of an easy sell it can sometimes be, you'll absolutely want to take more calls, trust me. Now, the third and final pillar to the recruitment is that working with us, we get you set up with what's called our automated outbound system. Now, what this system does is allow us to double volume and get you in front of hiring decision makers with top tier AI businesses at scale, at volume, and also on autopilot, completely hands off. So what that means is that you can just fully focus on the training, fully focus on getting ready for the calls, while interviews come into your lap and again, ultimately get up to 10, 20, 30,000 a month so much quicker. Really do get fast-tracked into the AI industry by working with us. Now, in terms of timeline, that's a question I get asked a lot. How long does this all take? When can I be in a role, etc.? Now, obviously, we need you to get through the training and pass the skills assessment, but the average timeline is that if you're putting 3 to 4 hours a week into the program, typically our goal is that by the end of month 1, we're looking for 4 interviews. So we've lined you up 4 interviews. Ideally, you've got 4 offers from great AI businesses, and you can essentially pick what company you feel best aligns with you. Now, I say by the end of month 1 because my philosophy is that I'd rather underpromise and overdeliver. But if you are committed your side, which by the way is really all we need is just commitment, if you're committed your side, we can absolutely shrink that timeline and fast track you even more. For example, I'll show you a couple of recent results. This one is literally from 5 days ago, as you can see. Occam absolutely blitzed through the training. He's now into a top tier role within only 2 weeks. From the day of signing up to the day of being into a top tier role, 2 weeks. I've got another guy here, Alamin. 3 weeks, okay? Now, again, there is an element that we need you to get through the training and, go through things, in order, make sure that you pass the skills assessment, that you're ready for these calls. But as long as you can do that, again, we can shrink that timeline even further and get you into a role within more like 2-3 weeks. For example, here, Aidan as well, now turned his old monthly income into his daily income, £1,600 net, which is about $2,000 in 1 day, which interestingly is what he used to make in a month. Okay, this is what this industry can do. The AI industry is, in my biased opinion, it's the most exciting industry on planet Earth. There's so much money pouring in, and sales professionals who take advantage of this growth frankly can change their life. Now, it does take a certain type of individual though, somebody who ultimately, in this industry, our primary task is to close deals. And our job title in this space is closers. If you really think about what that word means, closing, what does that mean? It means to bring something to an end. Ultimately, what that means is that your primary task in this industry is to get decisions. So therefore, in terms of the training, in terms of getting you ready for these calls, we can take care of that. In terms of the recruitment, we can take care of that. We can get you fast-tracked into a role. All we need from somebody like yourself watching this video is to be decisive. And if you really are serious about this, if you really want to establish yourself in the AI industry, the most exciting industry on the planet, get up to 10, 20, 30,000 a month, have the freedom, security, and lifestyle that you want, all you need to do right now is be decisive. Click the link that's in the description just below this video, schedule a call with me. On that call, we'll get to know each other a bit more, and if there is alignment on both sides, we will start the onboarding process and start getting you into a top-tier remote sales role and achieving the life that you want. Again, decisiveness is all we need. We will take care of the rest. So just go ahead and click the link in the description, at the top of the description, just below this video. Schedule a call with me on that page, and it just might be the start of a very exciting journey for you into the AI industry. I'll see you on the call very soon. Okay guys, now let's break down and diagnose everything that I did so that you can copy the exact pitch framework and confidently close deals straight out the gate. Now, first off, we're going to be going through more of the kind of fundamentals, more of the psychology behind it, and then we'll go into the actual, structure and the specific stages of the pitch. Because maybe you realize this or not, but the pitch was very structured. That's not just me talking off the top of my head. It follows a very specific framework that is designed to maximize our chances of closing the sale, building up that trust, that desire, and ultimately reaching your financial goals. So let's dive in. Now, it's worth bearing in mind that, by the way, guys, I go into so much more detail within the training program, but our job within the pitch is to build the bridge in the prospect's mind of how they will get to the other side. How we've got a stick man in his current state, which is painful. We've got his desired state where they want to get to, and our job is to build the bridge mentally in their mind of how what we have here will get them to the other side, get them to where they want to be. Now, again, guys, I go into so much more detail in the program, but to give you a quick overview, there is really 4 crucial ingredients that you need to close a sale in this industry, really any industry. Number 1 is the desire to change, and we kind of box that off in an earlier phase of the call, which is called discovery, also called the questioning phase. But they have to have the desire for change. The desire for change is the raw foundational ingredient behind any sale ever made. You could, let's say I'm selling a high-ticket custom AI agent, right? You could say, well, what's the person buying? You know, surface level says they're buying an AI agent, fine. The next level, the deeper level, says that, well, they're buying an outcome, they're buying a goal, they're buying a certain, an outcome that they want. But actually, we can simplify that even further, because what is that? That's change. They are buying change. Anybody that's ever bought something, they are buying change. So we have to have the desire for change. Again, that's the raw foundation behind any sale ever made. They also have to have desire for change now, which again is what we largely kind of build that in discovery in the questioning phase earlier in the call. But thirdly, this is where it gets important. They have to trust your system / process, or you could also call it your methodology, the way that you do things, the way that you get your client results. Now, think about this. If the raw foundation behind a sale being made is the desire for change, the prospect has to trust that what you have will get them the change that they want, which is what we build in the pitch. We build that trust of our system, process, methodology. Fourth and finally, pretty obvious one, but they have to have the financial resources, in other words, the money to sign up. Now again, in the discovery phase earlier in the call, not the pitch, we increase the prospect's desire to change and their desire for change now. And again, I go so deep into that within the training program about how you do that, because it really, really is so key. It's so key to be able to increase a prospect's desire for change. Now, also, guys, just to very quickly touch on, because, you know, the words that you say are obviously important, but honestly, what's much more important is how you say the words. And in terms of from a fundamental perspective and how I'm saying the words, you'll notice that I'm speaking with a lot of certainty. Certainty in your pitch is astronomically key. In fact, frankly, as I go into a lot more details, I have entire lessons about certainty within my training program. Certainty is actually... it can actually be scary how powerful it is. I mean that genuinely. Like, essentially, guys, there's three filters that our human brains use when they're evaluating a new decision and a new idea. The first one is the certainty of the person communicating the idea. The second one is the congruency, in other words, the inner alignment of the person communicating the idea. And the third filter that our brain uses is what other people think of the idea, which you can also call social proof. We're going to dive into that in a little bit more detail in just a second. But ultimately, guys, if we know this, then we can know that certainty is so important. Certainty, frankly, without being dramatic, can change your life. Once you know why certainty is so important and how to switch on certainty, you have, in all honesty, quite a scary amount of influence over other human beings. And obviously, with great power comes great responsibility, so obviously use ethically. But ultimately, guys, in the pitch, we want absolute certainty. And we really want to build the bridge in their mind of how they will get from where they are now to where they want to be. So guys, let's dive in now. That's a little bit more of the fundamentals, a little bit more of the why and not the how. Now let's get into the specific framework itself. So in terms of structure of the pitch has 5 micro phases. So every sales call in the AI industry has 5 macro phases, and then within each of those 5 phases is little micro phases. And the pitch in our framework has 5 micro phases. Micro phase 1 is where we recap the prospect's problem, pain, and goal, okay? And you could also call the goal the change that they want. Now, going into that, guys, do you remember that at the very, very start of that pitch, I said, right, you know, for yourself, Mr. Prospect, you know how you mentioned XYZ, you're not making the money you want to make, not living up to your potential, XYZ? Well, what we're going to do is XYZ that's going to allow you to reach 20,000 a month, have that freedom, that security, etc. That is what I'm doing. You want to start off your pitch, every single pitch, you want to start off by recapping their problem, their pain, and then also their goal. Very, very important. We do this so that we can tee up what we're about to do next, where we're going to explain the 3 to 5 step process that will help them get from where they are now to where they want to be. Again, remember, our goal is to build the bridge mentally in their mind of how they will get from where they are now to where they want to be. Now, the next phase, guys, so after you've recapped the prospect's problem, pain, and goal, you're then going to go into the specific steps that you're going to take in order to get them to the goal, to get them the change that they want, to outline the exact process, the system, the methodology that you use. Now, what's very, very important, guys, is that when I say here the 3 to 5 steps, this is so important to present your solution in a numbered, structured way. Very specific reason that we do this, because human beings find it a lot easier to understand and interpret information when we have a clear numbered format to follow. So if you notice, you know, some of the most viral videos on YouTube will be like the top 5 ways to X, or maybe a very popular article, three steps to do X. That's not a coincidence. It's because these marketers and these people creating that content know that human beings can understand and interpret information a lot better when it's presented in a numbered, structured format. And the same applies in our pitch. I walked you through, this is a 2-step process. And the reason as well is because we want our prospects to be able to understand and interpret the information correctly, because there's a famous saying in sales that confused prospects don't buy. And it's so true. We want them to have absolute clarity, which is why we present it in a numbered, structured format so that they can understand everything and have absolute clarity. Because if you don't have that, if you just throw all the information at them in one big blur, what's going to happen is, even if they don't consciously realize it, at the subconscious level, they will be confused. And then they'll get to the end and they'll be like, well, think about it. Because they do need to think about it, because they're confused, okay? So again, so key, guys. You always want to present any solution that you're selling, always present it in a numbered, structured, 3 to 5 steps, 3 to 5 pillars, has to be numbered, okay? Then we go on to micro phase 3, which is social proof. Do you remember I said earlier, there are 3 filters that our brains use to evaluate a new decision and a new idea. The first one is the certainty of the person communicating the idea, which is why certainty in your pitch and really throughout your entire sales process is so key. The second filter is the inner alignment, the congruency of the person communicating the idea. And the third one is what other people think of the idea, social proof. And if you realize, guys, in my pitch, we kind of, I went through the 2 steps, and then I just sprinkled in a little bit of social proof. Oh yeah, well typically, our goal is to have you into a role by the end of month 1, but look here, this is Occam, he got a role within 2 weeks. Alamin here, he got a role within 3 weeks. Aidan turned his old monthly income to his daily income. That's social proof. And social proof is such a powerful driver of human behavior. It's so important that you do this within your pitch, okay? Now, the important thing is, guys, we don't want to do this overtly. Okay, especially in the AI industry where you're talking to very cash-rich, sophisticated business owners. They know about social proof. They know what you're doing. And we don't want to lower trust by being over and being salesy. We want to sprinkle it in. There's a certain finesse to how you deliver social proof. Like, for example, in that pitch, did you notice that I kind of segued into social proof perfectly? Because, I said, yeah, the timeline, we're going to get you into a role by the end of month 1. But if you're happy to commit and put in the time, we can absolutely get you there quicker, such as blah, 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 Occam, blah, 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 Alamin, Aidan. So it kind of segued in perfectly. If I didn't do that and I didn't kind of create that segue, it would just be overt and it comes across as very salesy, which lowers trust and ultimately lowers your chances of getting the deal. Microphase 4, we then go on to ask them if they got any questions. Now, why do we do that? If you remember, even throughout the pitch, as I get through to the end of my kind of step and pillar, I said, any questions about that? Okay, do you feel like that would help? Now, guys, so important. You want to ask if they have any questions as you go through the pitch. You don't just want to get to the end of the pitch and then say, blurt out all this information to them and then only at the very end of the pitch say, any questions? You don't want to do that because it goes back to what we said earlier. Confused prospects don't buy. We want them to have absolute clarity. The thing is that if you save it until the end, if you save their questions to the end, people naturally forget, right? You're throwing a lot of information their way. So they might have had a question towards the start of the pitch, but now at the end of the pitch, you've blurted a load of information at them, and now they don't remember the question. And they won't necessarily be able to consciously realize it, but at least at the subconscious level, they will just feel confused. They'll be like, I had that question, but what is it? And they'll just have this subtle feeling of confusion. And frankly, it massively lowers your chances of success. Now, at the end of the pitch, we also go through what's a temperature check, which I won't go through in detail right now. Again, I go into all of this in so much more detail with all my guys that I'm working with. But temperature check is where we basically, before we drop the price on them, we're going to get a gauge for where they're at, okay? And it's going to allow us to handle any possible objections before we drop the price. Because, guys, any hesitations, any objections that the prospect has, let's say they're like that big, once you drop the price, any hesitations, any objections they have are just, boom, amplified, okay? Which is why we really want to alleviate any concerns, hesitations, etc. before we drop the price. And that's what the temperature check allows us to do. Lastly, guys, what you'll also notice is that as I kind of went through each of the steps, what I also do is I was looping, it's called looping back. I was looping back to the goal. So, blah, 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 XYZ, self-paced study. And what that means is that you can get up to 10, 20, 30,000 a month so much easier and frankly a lot quicker. There's a specific reason I'm doing that. There's also a saying in sales that people buy from emotions and justify with logic, which is absolutely true. But you need both. You need to sell on their emotions and also their logic. It's not just enough for somebody to be in a hyped up state and be like, wow. Like, they also have to logically see how it would work. But the point is, we're throwing a lot of logical information their way. And ultimately, guys, remember what I said at the start of this? The raw foundation behind any sale ever being made is the desire for change. And ultimately, guys, they have to believe, and what they are buying is change. So what I like to do, just after, throwing a lot of logical information that way, just loop back to the goal. Just bring to the forefront of their conscious mind what they are actually buying. You're not just buying a program, you're not just buying an AI solution, you are buying the change that you want. Whether that's, business revenue, whether that's, life income, you are buying change. So a lot of logical information at you, and then I'm just going to loop it back by ultimately saying, and this is how we can get you to XYZ goal, okay? Very, very important to loop back at the end of each of your steps and pillars. So guys, microphase 1, recap the prospect, problem, pain, and goal. So important. Again, we want to keep the goal, the change that they want at the top of their mind, which is why we recap at the start of the pitch. We're letting them know, hey, this is all just a vehicle to get you to XYZ goal, to get you to the change that you want. Very, very important that you do that. Then we're going to explain the 3 to 5 steps. You can also call it the 3 to 5 pillars, your process, what you're going to do to get them to the change that they want. Again, very, very important to present it as a numbered, structured process. Then we're going to sprinkle in some social proof. We don't want to be overt with it. That can, perceive you to be salesy and lower trust. We just want to sprinkle it in, create a nice segue into the social proof. Then we're going to ask them if they've got any questions. And also, throughout the pitch, at the end of each step and pillar, we're going to ask them if they do have any questions. Again, we didn't go into it right there and then because it wouldn't make sense. But at the end, you also would want to do a temperature check where we're going to gauge where they're at, and we are going to address any hesitations, concerns, objections before we drop the price. Because any hesitations they have are only going to be amplified once you drop that big old price on them. So guys, it's been an absolute pleasure. Again, if you're serious about this, if you potentially like the idea of working together, just click the link in the description, schedule a call with me, and it just might be the start of a very exciting journey for you into this incredible, exciting AI industry. I'll see you there.